A courtroom victory is only a theoretical win until it is reduced to a valid, enforceable judgment. If the final document is procedurally defective, that hard-fought victory has no legal effect. Rule 36 of the Rules of Civil Procedure acts as the bridge between abstract litigation and the physical reality of a sheriff executing a court order. To understand how to cross that bridge, we are conducting a complete forensic audit of Rule 36, examining sections 1 through 6. We begin with the first pillar, the mechanics a judge must follow when drafting a decision to satisfy constitutional requirements. From there, we will dissect the timeline triggered by the clerk's exact date of entry and the tools courts use to manage complex multi-party claims. Mastering these 6 sections ensures that a trial results in an enforceable order rather than a void piece of paper. Section 1 establishes the rule on rendition. To satisfy the constitutional guarantee of due process, a judge must personally and directly prepare the decision in writing, explicitly stating the factual and legal basis for the ruling. You can verify a decision's validity using the mnemonic PDF, personally prepared, directly prepared, and facts and law clearly stated. Watch for the terse dismissal trap. Under the Shimizu doctrine, a one-line order dismissing a case for failure to prosecute is an incurable nullity because it lacks the required factual findings. The exception to the written rendition requirement is the nunc pro tunc order, literally now for then. This allows a court to correct clerical omissions, such as a misspelled name that was already corrected in open court. Correctly reading a decision requires distinguishing between its 2 main parts, the body, which contains the factual narrative, and the follow, or the dispositive portion at the end. If the body of the decision contradicts the follow, the dispositive portion controls. This is the only part of the document the sheriff can actually execute. Section 1 ensures the decision is a valid instrument. Failure here stops the execution process before it begins. Once the judge signs the document, control shifts to the clerk of court. The focus moves from the text to the exact measurement of time. This triggers the doctrine of immutability. If no appeal or motion for reconsideration is filed within the regulamentary period, the judgment becomes unalterable, even by the Supreme Court. The clerk manages this through a ministerial duty known by the EFEDC mnemonic. Entry by the clerk, finality equals the entry date. The dispositive part is recorded, and a certificate of finality is issued. The date of entry acts as the anchor for all post-judgment remedies. It starts the 6-month period for a petition for relief, the 5-year window for execution by motion, and the 10-year prescriptive period for an action for revival. Altering this rigid timeline is only possible under the NCV exceptions, nunc pro tunc entries, simple clerical errors, and void judgments. Bar examiners frequently try to confuse students by providing the date of promulgation or the date of receipt in a fact pattern. You must ignore the receipt dates when calculating execution periods. The only date that dictates finality is the date of entry. Treating this date casually is a mistake. Missing this anchor results in the permanent loss of the client's rights. Multi-party litigation requires the court to resolve specific liabilities or claims independently, ensuring that the resolution of one party's case doesn't stall the proceedings for everyone else. Section 3 allows the court to render judgment against one specific defendant, allocating liability independently while the remaining parties continue to trial. However, the court cannot fragment a judgment this way if an indispensable party has been excluded from the case. When spotting this on an exam, you must first determine if the underlying obligation is joint or solidary. Do not assume that a judgment against one solidary debtor automatically ends the case for the others. Motivation against the remaining debtors can still proceed. Section 4 shifts the focus from distinct parties to distinct issues or demands. This applies to the permissive joinder of causes of action. The court can resolve and extract one specific claim at an early stage, while the rest of the building, the lawsuit, remains under construction. On exams, be precise. Use Section 3 for the distinct liabilities of parties and Section 4 for severable issues. These sections isolate resolved matters, extracting them from the trial machinery without stopping the entire case. Section 5 focuses on claim fragmentation, allowing the court to terminate the action regarding one specific claim while the main battle continues. For example, the court can render a separate judgment on a plaintiff's main claim while a compulsory counterclaim remains pending. This triggers a defensive mechanism, the stay of enforcement. The judge will freeze the execution of the one claim until the outcome of the remaining counterclaim is known. This prevents a party from seizing assets when the final resolution might show they actually owe the other party an offsetting amount. Clarify your appellate strategy here. A separate judgment under Section 5 is a final order that terminates that specific claim. It is immediately appealable and is not a mere interlocutory order. Section 5 balances finality with fairness, documenting a victory but delaying its physical enforcement until the entire war is resolved. Section 6 deals with groups operating as entities without official registration, such as unregistered partnerships. The rule is strict. The judgment must set out the individual or proper names of the members, if they are known. This complements Rule 3, Section 15. You sue the entity under its assumed name, but the judge renders the judgment against the individual members. If the individual names are truly unknown despite discovery, the judgment can still bind the association's physical property. Do not mistakenly grant a corporate veil to unregistered entities on an exam. Because they lack juridical personality, no such protection exists. Section 6 removes this legal camouflage, directing the sheriff towards the personal assets of the human operators. Zooming out to the macro view, the stakes of civil procedure become clear. We move from the constitutional necessity of the judge's pen in Section 1 to the immutable timeline locked in by the clerk in Section 2. Sections 3 through 6 then provide the precision needed to fragment claims, sever liabilities, and reach the assets of unregistered entities. Rule 36 stabilizes the court's decision, providing the procedural framework required for final execution. Surviving the bar exam requires recognizing the traps within these rules convert a courtroom victory into a physically executable result.